This is Paul Turner, the Immigration Barrister at Imperium Chambers. Thank you for tuning in to my channel. Please subscribe to my channel. And if you have an immigration problem or any type of immigration advice that you're looking for, please get in touch with me and I'll do my level best to help you in any way that I can. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the general changes made in respect of the COVID guidance issued to migrants that was published on the 8th of July. This is in the face of an increase in the spread of the virus in the United Kingdom. Given the length of the Home Office guidance, I've decided to break it down into a series of 3 videos, and today is going to be the first video that I'm going to be doing. This is one of a series of videos that I've been producing since the start of the pandemic, and is designed to provide some general guidance outlining the government's position and changes in respect of what will be considered a concession. What is worrying to me is that while the coronavirus is on the increase in the United Kingdom, the Home Office are essentially cutting back on the concessions it previously made and making it harder for people to stay in the United Kingdom. It is therefore very important that you make sure that you keep up to date with the relevant guidance and changes, and if you intend to stay in the United Kingdom, to apply it properly and as quickly as you can. There have been a number of changes of the rules, so as I've mentioned, rather than producing one huge, long, boring video, I've decided to break them down into 3 over the course of this week. Firstly, I'm going to be addressing some of the key changes to the rules and some key things to watch out for. The starting point is that, from the Home Office's position, is that if you don't have a right to remain in the United Kingdom, you should take all reasonable steps to leave the United Kingdom where it is possible. If you don't want to leave the United Kingdom, then I would suggest that you get in touch with me or another reputable lawyer, and we can assist you in trying to regularise your stay in the United Kingdom. And if you do intend to stay in the United Kingdom, you will need to apply for the relevant permission to stay. Where eligible, you will be able to make the application from within the United Kingdom. And if you do so, and you make it with your leave or exception assurance, to which I'll come to, your current permission and any criteria such as right to work will remain the same until your application and any appeal is finally decided. If you are switching, this briefly touching upon this, switching into or thinking of switching into the work or study route, you may be able to commence work or study whilst your application is under consideration by the Home Office, again depending on the terms of your current permission to stay in the United Kingdom. Now, if you don't want to stay forever and you don't want to make an application but you can't go home, you can make an application for what's called exception assurance, and I've covered this before, and you must submit the application before your leave ends. And if you've previously been granted exception assurance in the past and it's due to expire, you've got to apply for it again. It's done by way of email, and you have to provide quite a bit of documentation, and I can assist you with that if that's what you want to do. There is some good news for people that have overstayed, going back to the 24th of January 2020 through to 31st of August 2020. Because the Home Office have said there'll be no adverse immigration consequences if during that period, which is pretty much the height of the initial pandemic, you didn't attempt to regularise your stay in the United Kingdom. So that's good news if you're looking to extend your visa, and good news for ILR. Previously, you could get an exemption quite easily from the English language test. However, now it's compulsory to provide an English language test, and I've covered that in a video. You can book a test at most of the approved English language testing centres, and approved is the key word here. For information on how you can book your English language test, either contact your test centre, Trinity College London, International English Language Testing System, IELTS, which is very popular, Language Cert website, and Pearson Test of English. Now, so that covers the English language test. Now, turning to entrepreneurs. If you're a tier 1 entrepreneur and your business has been disrupted by COVID, as most people's has, it's good news that you no longer need to employ at least 2 people for 12 months, 12 consecutive months. The 12-month period you're required to employ for someone can be made up for multiple jobs across different months, as long as it's equivalent to 2 full-time jobs, which takes into account the disruption of COVID. Now, turning to those with start-up visas. Now, you may have come here, got your start-up visa and then hit by COVID. Well, the good news is that you can apply for an additional 12 months leave under the start-up route. There is a big change coming though, which is that applications for the additional year as a start-up migrant will not be accepted after the 30th of September 22. This is one of the tightening up restrictions. Good news though, however, if you've applied for a student or child student visa, including Tier 4, and are waiting for a decision on your application. You can start your course or studies before your visa application has been decided if you meet the requirements of the rules. So that's good news. If your application is eventually rejected as invalid or refused, you must of course stop your course of studies. Now, if you've applied in respect of work for a health and care visa, care worker visa, and are waiting for a decision on your application, then you too can start your work before your application has been decided, as long as you meet the relevant requirements of the rules. So this is obviously due to the massive shortage of people in the healthcare sector at the moment. However, if your application is ultimately rejected or refused or treated as invalid, your sponsor will stop sponsoring you and you must stop working from then on. Previously, this concession extended to all people applying under Tier 2 for work. However, it's now been cut back to only health and care worker visas. So it's important that that if you're looking if you're not applying for a health and care visa, then you must wait until your visa application has been approved before you start work, unless of course your current visa or you've got permission to work at the moment. Now, turning to the people that work for the NHS. Now, previously they were granted quite a lot of concessions, reasonably so, given the amount of stress they and their families were put under. What you can do now is you can, if you're working for the NHS, is you can work at any hospital during the COVID outbreak, as long as your sponsor can maintain its sponsorship duties. Sadly, the 3 years extension for NHS workers and family and IHS exemption ended on the 30th September 2021. So you're not going to get your free year. Importantly, which makes it easier, sponsors won't need to notify UKVI if you change your place of work or working there. Also, which is good for NHS workers, is that due to the coronavirus pandemic, you're allowed to take a part-time job in any field whatsoever and work as many hours as you want to. So there is some concessions for NHS workers. But overall, what we're seeing, and this is the initial video, as I say, there will be another 2 videos covering other aspects of the concessions and the tightening up, and people from abroad will be coming out later this week. But it's important to note that despite COVID being on the increase, the government is still seeking to restrict people and make it harder for people to remain in the United Kingdom, which again flies in the face of reality. But what do you expect from this government? Thank you very much for watching this video. Please watch out for part 2, which will cover some concessions and some good news. That will be coming out on Wednesday. Thank you again. This is Paul Turner, the Immigration Barrister at Imperium Chambers.